and welcome to this month's edition of United Way at Work. I'm your host, Nancy Gordon, Executive Director of United Way of Rutland County. And it's hard to believe that it's almost time once again for the National Letter Carriers Association Food Drive. That will take place on the second Saturday in May, as it always does. But this year, the second Saturday in May is the 14th of the month. So it's not Mother's Day weekend. Bear that in mind. It's the weekend after this year. With me, two of the folks representing two of the shelves in the city, which will benefit from your generosity on the 14th of May. Major Charles Balcom from the Salvation Army.
Hi, Nance.
Welcome. And Marianne Buswell, who is the food shelf director. Officially, you're a program specialist, and on a practical level, that includes
food shelf.
Operating the food shelf. Thank you both for being here. Once upon a time, we would use the expression, so-and-so doesn't know where his or her next meal is coming from. Nowadays, the terminology is food insecurity, but it's the same basic deal. And an awful lot of people do deal with this particular issue, both in Vermont and nationwide. I was doing a little research for this show. About 80,000 people in Vermont, or 13% of all households, are food insecure. And that compares to 14% nationally. Where we fall down is the number of children. 17%, you're nodding, you know this firsthand, 17%, over 20,000 children in Vermont don't know where their next meal is coming from on any regular basis, compared to 9.4% nationally. That's just one of the stats that really stood out to me. And you are nodding, so let's talk about what you see in the way of hunger in our community. We'll start with you, Marianne. You've been running the food shelf now for about seven to 8 months. And so what are you seeing at Brock?
Quite a wide variety of population-wise comes to us. You had talked about kids. I normally don't see the kids unless they're very young because they're usually in school, but vacation week, sometimes I'll see them. And it's interesting that you talked about the kids. I just attended the Rutland Hunger Council, brand new council that will be happening quarterly, and they were talking about the food insecurity for kids, and it mostly happens, they get their supports during school, but it's on the weekends, it's on vacation weeks, it's summer break that they're really seeing the lack of food, and so they're really trying to come up with some creative ways to give food, like you've kind of heard like a backpack campaign lately, and that's one of the ways that they're trying to make sure that the kids have food.
Send them home on the weekend with some nutrition.
Weekend, yeah.
And Major, I know you and I have worked together on so many food drives through the years, and you have always mentioned that when we're doing Stuff a Bus in November, that long holiday weekend poses a real challenge for parents. And as you said, Marianne, any school break, be it a few days, a week, or the whole summer, poses particular challenges for families who are struggling.
Right, it becomes a hardship for them, because then the parents have to decide whether they're going to keep the roof over their head, or put some food on their table, or put gas in their car so they can go to work. You know, it becomes very difficult and financially becomes very burdensome. You know, and it's not that they don't want to provide, it's just that the means aren't there.
Let's talk about that very point, because I think, and we talk about this, but it bears repeating, that a lot of the folks who do come and seek help from either of your organizations, or from the Community Cupboard, or from Fairhaven Concerned, or any of the other food shelves in the region, oftentimes it's because they are working, but they make just a bit too much to qualify for any support from programs such as SNAP, but not enough to comfortably afford 30 or 31 days worth of meals every month.
Yes, and you know, a lot of times we see where families try to live paycheck to paycheck, you know, and our society now is a two-income household, and a lot of times there's not two incomes coming into that household, so it becomes even harder for them to make those decisions.
And if there are two incomes, they're not two full incomes because it's people maybe stringing together part-time employment, or one's working full-time and one's working part-time to try to cut down on childcare costs. I mean, there's that commercial that we see on TV about the woman having to leave her employer because the cost of childcare is so high and the place that she's been taking her child is closing. And that's a very real world scenario. And how many people say, it costs me more to work than it does not to work because of the child care. There are so many complicating factors here. I shared some stats around the children. In Vermont, 11% of senior citizens are food insecure. Across the United States, there was an 88% increase in food insecurity between 2001 and 2011 among elderly folks living alone. And you think about that food insecurity is not only about whether they go hungry, but the effects that has on people's health, whether they wind up being hospitalized or put into some group setting, et cetera. So this is also about independent living for a lot of people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really difficult. The seniors have struggled probably all their life, and then they become where they can't work anymore, or they can't, so they're on fixed incomes. And when they get to that point, there's not really enough there for them. So the food pantries that we have are there to help subsidize some of that, but obviously you can't make their whole month for them.
Yeah, that's a very important point too, that even if somebody were to take full advantage of the opportunities available within the food shelves in a given community, say in the city of Rutland, there are the 3 primary food shelves, but even if someone were to come to both of you and to the community cupboard in a given month, they still have 3/4 or more of the month to fend for themselves anyway. So this is an assist, but I wouldn't call it enabling.
Right.
Marianne, in terms of the folks who are coming to the Brock Food Shelf, it's part of many services that you offer. So one of the advantages would be, I would guess, the hours that the food shelf is available to your clients.
Yes, we are open Monday through Friday, 10 to 12, and we still have people trickle in the afternoons. They still are looking for food, but it's definitely an advantage to be open 5 days in the morning, because some of them are also looking to get fuel assistance or electric assistance. Right now it's tax season, so we're getting a lot of people in either for AARP or the Brock Tax Services. And so they'll see our food shelf sign and come over, am I eligible for this? So.
And you have fresh food now.
We do. We are lucky that we are working with the local grocery stores, and they're providing a lot of fresh food for us. Just as a fun statistic, in January we had 8,500 pounds of food donated through the food bank and the local food shelf, or the local grocery stores.
And that sounds like a lot, and it is. It's a generous amount, but when you think about the hardships that people endure through the winter, and yes, this was a mild winter, but still, heating costs and other costs in the winter are higher, so I'm sure you still had people who were really struggling, and those donations went out as quickly as they came in.
Yes.
And Major Chuck, I know with the Salvation Army, your mission is so comprehensive, and you see people at all hours of the day and night and make the food shelf available as needed.
Right. And our food pantry, as far as with our volunteers, is open Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 till 3. And, and then obviously it's by case. If it's beyond that. We've had people stop us in the street that needed some food, and we would open up the food pantry for them. It's just really, it breaks your heart to see people at that devastation where they're struggling that much. And unfortunately, our society deems it, and it becomes harder and harder for these individuals, as we continue to push forward.
So let's talk about the day itself. Saturday, May 14th, as I said earlier, it's always the second Saturday. It's just that this year it's after Mother's Day. But let's talk about the day. Major, I know you've been involved in it many times since you've been in this area. What can people expect? I mean, this year I know we have bags again.
Yes.
Which we're really excited about. We make it very easy. You'll have your custom bag to remind you, and that will come in with your mail earlier that week. But on the other end, when we're on the other end receiving the food from the wonderful letter carriers who are doing all this extra work on the community's behalf, what's it like at the post office?
It's very busy, to say the least. The letter carrier pulls in with their vans. Most of the time when you look at their vans, the front wheels aren't even touching the ground anymore. They have so much stuff, which is great. I mean, it's much needed. But as they bring it in, we have a group of volunteers that will pull them out of those vehicles and start sorting them, and then they put them in the letter carrier mail crates and divide them up amongst the local pantries, and those will be distributed to each pantry, and then they're taken back to fill their shelves.
And like I said earlier, we do multiple food drives in the community through the year, because the need is great and things do go out so quickly. You might say, well, didn't we just do that thing in November? Yeah. Did you fill up your gas tank between Thanksgiving and now? Yep. So yes, it's time. It's time once again. Both of you know, in terms of your experience with your own pantries, what kind of goods you need the most. What's in the most demand for the folks who access your shelves?
Right now on our food shelf, we are low on cereal, tuna fish, any type of already made meals like stew, or I hate to say it, but Chef Boyardee, thinking back to these kids and thinking that possibly they may need to feed themselves. If you could do the peel off top would be even better for those kids, and we're coming summertime and we're about to get our folks back. They're going to be headed back out into their tents and homeless and that kind of thing, and some don't have can openers. So that's why I say the peel-off tops are handy.
That's true, whether it's a can of beans or
Right.
Chef Boyardee ravioli or certain soups that come in the peel-off cans.
And that goes along with the elderly as well. Some are still home, but they're ill. They may not have the energy anymore to cook, and so
And
those
motor control to
Exactly.
handle
Right.
a can opener.
Right, they're not really making full meals anymore.
Yeah. So convenient foods. We try to be nutritious and wholesome,
Right.
but nonetheless, sometimes there's a trade-off there to make
Right.
sure somebody's eating, even if that particular product may have sodium or
tons of
sweeteners or
salt.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But let's talk about the specialty diets, because that's always been a cause dear to my heart, making sure that people who do have special considerations are also considered. Major, I know you and I have talked about this many times, that you always have people who have particular needs. So if somebody wants to buy gluten-free, or somebody wants to buy low sodium or sugar-free, you'll definitely put that to good use.
Yes, and it goes even also when you think about not just those gluten-free diets, but there are people who can't have certain products. I mean, I know I can't have like greens, so as you look at some of the vegetables that come across, well, think about the people that might not be able to have certain items.
Because of
And-
allergies or
yes.
food intolerances.
And so what you do is you go to the store and you might have a 10 for 10, and you pick up, well, I only need a couple. Well, fine, then pick up a couple extra. It's not like it's a lot. And if everybody was able to just put one can in their bag, or two cans in their bag, how much greater this drive would be.
I always like to employ this strategy of, I really want that, but I shouldn't have it. But somebody else can have it because that person isn't trying to lose 20 pounds. The carbs are good for that kid or that naturally slim person who needs to stay fortified. So I have to avoid the potatoes, but they don't. So I'm going to buy the can of potatoes so that they at least have some.
The kids burn them off so fast, you know. Unfortunately, we're not. As we get older, it slows down a little bit, but but the kids, you know, have so much energy, and you know, it'd be great if we could bottle that and produce that and help some of the others. But you know, it is a great, you know, the staple items, pastas, you know, the potatoes, and non-perishable. I mean, we want to talk about non-perishable. Don't put a loaf of bread in there. You know, letter carrier will take it. But it's not really what they're trying to do. They're trying to get, you know, the non-perishable items, cans and boxes.
And as you mentioned, Marianne, the local grocery stores are donating some of those perishable items. So we've got that covered.
Yes.
If people need those items, they can access that. But what you really want to do with a drive like this is stock the shelves with things that will last more than a few days. So that person with that intolerance for green vegetables wants to come in and get corn, you've got the cans of corn
correct.
for that person. He or she might not come in time to get the fresh ear of corn, but they do come in time to get the can.
That's correct.
Yeah. Protein. We mentioned tuna fish, peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter is a big one too. And as you said, for kids who are preparing meals for themselves or for seniors who don't have a lot of time to invest in the process because standing up at the kitchen sink is more of a challenge than it used to be. Taking a couple of minutes to spread a little peanut butter on a piece of bread, or heck, eat it out of the jar. I've done that, you know. It's quick, but at least you're getting something nutritionally packed with a spoon or two.
It's hard to keep peanut butter and tuna fish on the shelf, but could get creative and go for the other canned meats too to add variety on the shelf as well.
The old Underwood deviled ham and the canned chicken and all of those items as well. Yeah, there is a good variety out there. In terms of what you would like to see going forward, we've talked about the various foods that are the top one. What other items do people maybe not think about that you wish they would think of more often?
Well, Nancy, one of the things that people might not think of, I mean, especially for myself, my children have grown quite a bit, but there are infants out there that need baby food, need diapers. Some of the staple things that just are common, you know, to infancy. And you know, as we get older, we sort of forget about those because we don't go to the store to buy them anymore. But you know, there are individuals that come to the pantries that need a little bit of help with the baby food or with diapers or with any, you know, the baby products.
All the things that aren't covered, even if somebody does have SNAP benefits, the toiletries, the baby supplies, those things wouldn't be covered anyway.
That's right. That's right. And you know, it is a need out there. I mean, we do have a lot of young children in our community that we want to make sure that they're nourished just as well as the seniors in our community.
Yeah, and anybody who has worked with a young child in their own family or in employment knows diapers add up.
Yes.
That's a significant expense. I remember when my grandnephew, who's now 13, was in that phase, and my niece was like, I can't wait until we don't have to buy diapers anymore. And it wasn't to rush him through, you know, his growth. It was just the reality of what a sizable expense that is.
Right, and that comes with the time. I mean, when we think back, when my parents were raising children, it was cloth diapers.
I used to change the nieces and nephews 45 years ago
now,
with cloth
now
diapers.
It's no longer cloth diapers. Now it's the diapers that we purchase at the store, which are the disposable ones.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be practical for most parents to do it the old-fashioned way, even though that's more environmentally correct.
Yeah.
But the reality of putting your child in childcare and being on the go so much.
Yeah, it just becomes very cumbersome, and you know, we're trying to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah. How about the pets?
Yeah, there's also a need for, because a lot of like seniors carry their pets or their family. whether it's a cat or a dog. It's like children to them, and it keeps it as a companion to help them along each day. It gives them a reason to get up, a reason to move around.
Yeah. So, and you're nodding, Marianne. So you wouldn't mind having a few cans of pet food thrown into the mix?
I don't have one can in the shelf right now. I would love to have some cat and dog food.
Yeah.
We just went through our last bag yesterday, so that would be great. Canned, dry. I think we have more cat owners than we do dogs, but we need both. They're always looking for those things.
And I like to put in word for the other critters like ferrets and birds and hamsters, and because again, depending on what people's situations are, they may have some of these other quieter pets because that's what they can have in their apartment. And
Right, because the landlords don't allow them to have other dogs or cats.
right, but they can have the smaller caged animals, and that's
Right.
okay. But again, you don't want to have to choose, and I hate to see anybody give up a beloved pet when they could just get a little help
To get them over the hump.
to get them over the hump and keep providing that loving home and benefit from the companionship of that critter. It's hard to believe that the Letter Carriers Food Drive has been around now. This is the 24th year, and that it started in the mid-90s in just a few communities. We always use the phrase a pilot program, and this was a pilot program once upon a time, and then it spread, and then it spread. And I understand that every single postal zip in Rutland County is participating. You two represent Rutland City specifically, although I know you see people from surrounding communities as well. But we mentioned again that in terms of United Way partners, the community cupboard is involved with the two of you and with us, and our friends at Fairhaven Concerned are also participating, and the postal carriers in the western part of the county will be delivering their goods over to Fairhaven Concerned that day. The day itself, as you said, Major, is busy and festive. Marianne, you're going to want to check this out because it really is a good time. I was always on the other end making the rounds to help pick things up, so I never actually saw the post office end at the end of the day. But it is exciting, and we all get together with hot dogs and ice cream and beverages to thank the letter carriers themselves and the other volunteers who were there that day.
It's just a day of fun.
It's a party, Doing good can be fun. That's the thing that strikes me about events like this so much. What's coming up in the near future for both of your organizations? Any events or initiatives that you want to share with us today?
Well, one of the events that our Empowering Women's group is putting on, which is this coming Saturday, which will be April, I forget what date is it.
The 16th is
16th,
the center. So depending on when you're watching this program, it may have already passed.
That's correct. That's why I wanted to get the date out there. But they are doing a Disney dance, and it's Disney theme, and people will be coming in their Disney costume and to come to this dance, so it'll be a lot of fun, I think, and the prices are very minimal, so they can always check with our office and get the particulars for it.
Now, is that a fundraiser or just more of like a gift to the community to have a good time?
It's a fundraiser for the women's group, and this is one of their first ones, so it's like they're trying to empower these women to do things, and this is just one of their events that they're housing, that they're going to house.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it'll be fun, I'm sure.
Always wanted to get a Snow White costume, but there's never one around when I need it. Oh, shoot. Too little time to work that one out for Saturday. And I know there's so much going on. You mentioned the busyness of tax season, and I'm happy to say that we at United Way of Rutland County are helping to support the tax program. Yes, and that's something that United Ways all over the country are connected to in one way or another, whether they're providing the services with their own staff or organizing the volunteers, or in this case, supporting something that Brock is already doing and focusing some of the funds that people contribute in that direction. That's such a critical program in terms of making sure that people work the system in the best possible way. And by that I mean that they do their due diligence as citizens, but also that if there are benefits that they could receive, tax credits and such, that they do take advantage of those because they need the money to go into things like buying food and paying for heat.
Right. So Brock is actually kind of winding down because tax season, we're almost through. Electric and fuel assistance, we're kind of winding down with that. But just to let you know, with the tax program, not the AARP, but the Brock program, we also have interns from Castleton College that are coming and helping with the taxes, so that's fun as well. The only thing I could say as a activity, in addition to what's going on with Brock, is that we have many interns from economic services working within our building that are getting job training. So I rely on them heavily in the food shelf to help me out. So just wanted to mention that even though they may be on assistance, they are out there and they're improving their skills in places like Brock, doing many different things.
And both of your organizations are about this. I mean, obviously, Salvation Army has a long history, and in fact, United Way and Salvation Army were partners in the early years of what became United Way, but we've continued to be partners on a more informal level, certainly. But you've always talked about it's a hand up, not a handout, and that's absolutely true, I know, of Brock as well. I mean, we are trying to both meet basic needs and move people beyond being in the situation where they're struggling to meet the basic needs, and that's where the programs, the job coaching, the tax assistance, the financial and nutritional education, all of these things come into play. And I know both of you do that, and I certainly know the good folks at Fairhaven Concerned and our friends at the Community Cupboard and other organizations throughout the community all strive to start with the basic need first, to meet the need, so that somebody can concentrate on moving from point A to B.
And try to educate them, to give them a new look on life.
Yeah, it's very important. I know one of the things that the Brock program is doing is creating incentives for people to begin saving, because we are woefully short as a nation in saving, even people who have more means. But cultivating that habit so that we avoid future emergencies, because there are a few $100s set aside when something unexpected comes up, the emergency car repair or something, that it doesn't throw a household off for months and months and months. Because it's easy enough to do that if you are living on a minimum wage type of an income. We want to remind everybody the Letter Carriers Food Drive, thanks to Chris Greeno and all of the crew, will be on Saturday, May 14th. You will be getting a postcard reminder with that great little family circle cartoon. There's a new one every year. And bags will be delivered to each household. So it will be another reminder. We're even giving you the bag. All you have to do is leave your non-perishable food items, household supplies, pet supplies, also welcome, toiletries and such. Leave them at your mailbox. Your letter carrier will come and do the heavy lifting. And they do. They put in very long days. They make extra trips that they normally don't have to make when they're doing their appointed rounds. So many, many thanks to the National Association of Letter Carriers and the local folks who are making this happen on the 14th of May. Second Saturday in May every year. Major Chuck Balcom from the Salvation Army, thank you so much, and Marianne Buswell from Brock. We welcome you to this celebration this year. This is going to be a good time. Thank you for both. Yes. Thank you both very much for being here. And thank you for watching. Join us again next month for United Way at Work. I'm Nancy Gordon. Take care.